Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am honestly very thrilled to be back and making some videos for you guys. And today I have some exciting and new information on reincarnation. So if this is the kind of thing that you're really into, like and subscribe and stay tuned. Here we go. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is kind of like the old way of thinking of reincarnation. This is kind of what I knew to be true and what I'm sure a lot of you guys do too, but I'll catch us all up to speed. So reincarnation is the idea that once you have lived a life here on Earth, you die, so you're no longer in physical form, and your soul would then go to heaven, for lack of a better description. You hang out there for a bit, and you can then re-enter as human again and do a whole nother round as a different person in a different time, with different skills and all kinds of things. And the whole purpose of this is to learn lessons, like life lessons. So you would come and go to gain wisdom and knowledge about yourself and humanity, to grow and learn, like school, okay? So that's kind of it in a nutshell, but I'm gonna go a little bit deeper. Now, this is still along the lines of the things that we pretty much already know. One of them is that you do get to choose, when you reincarnate, you get to choose the type of life lessons that you have in this now lifetime. So you get to decide, okay, well, I'm going to be female and I want to have children. Or these major milestones, and they have to do with whatever it is that you need to learn. So if you needed to learn more about unconditional love, there's nothing greater than a love that a mother has for a child. So that would be a perfect life lesson example for you to live and have that experience, right? So one of the other cool things is that you also get to work with and choose these life lessons and bounce ideas off of your soul family. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what your soul family is. But so far, this is kind of what we've already known, right? So your soul family is the people that play a key role in your life, in this human life. So it doesn't always have to be like your parents and siblings. It can be your neighbor or your friend. But the difference is that these are people that you often reincarnate with as a group. These are people that play pivotal roles in your life lessons and stuff like that. So if this was a movie starring you, you would be the main character, right? And they would be your supporting actors, and everybody else would kind of be the extras, right? People that come and go and are on one episode or in one chapter of your life. So these supporting actors have very powerful roles. So for example, if you really needed to learn that love that a mother has for a child, a supporting role would be that child, right? And all the things that get wrapped up in parenthood are in with that child. Now, that child being a member of your soul family may also be a family member, a soul family member that says, hey, I need to experience what it's like to be a male, and I'm going to have these different things, so I'll volunteer to go in this time, and the roles will switch. Last time I was your parent, this time you can be my parent. That's kind of how it works, okay? The reason why soul family is so different is because you are connected to them on a soul level. You have contracts and agreements that you decided before you came here. So when we lose someone in our soul family, it is completely different and uncomparable to other losses we may have had. This is why your, favorite aunt can pass away, and she might have even lived with you for most of your life. And it's sad, and you go through your grieving process, and you're all right. And then your a parent or your sibling who you are, super close with, total best friends with, have this really deep soul connection, and they pass away, and it's life shattering. So that is another good example. These key characters that have this deep connection to you on a soul level, that's typically your soul family. I think my guides usually say that it's like 5 to 7 people, and you usually choose to come in as a group and kind of bounce around and support each other. Okay, so now that I kind of have you guys up to speed, let me check my notes really quick and make sure that I kind of went over, one more thing. Okay, so The other thing is so you have your true self, your higher self that has all the information of every life you ever lived. But and that's why we're sitting at that round table deciding all of our lessons, because well, I played this kind of character and I played this kind of character. I'm missing this lesson, so I kind of need this. But when you come here to Earth and reincarnate, your slate gets wiped clean and you do not remember those past lives, because it is important for you to learn these lessons, and you wouldn't learn as many of those lessons or to the depth that you need to learn them if you remembered things about past lives, and especially if you remembered what it's like up in heaven, because you'd be like, peace out, I'm out of here. So, my point in that is that you don't remember your past lives. However, as we raise our vibration, a lot of you light workers and some of you guys watching that are hypnotherapists will be like, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. We do and can access our Akashic records through deep meditation, raising our vibration, and even seeing a hypnotherapist. So we can kind of do a little bit of self-research and go back to other past lives and remember small little pivotal moments or glimpses. This often helps with healing when you're really hung up on something that kind of doesn't make sense. For example, let's say you're absolutely terrified of the water and you can't even get through a swimming lesson. You go into like full-on body sweats and want to vomit every time that your feet touch the water. And it makes no sense because you've never had a negative experience. You've never had an almost drowning. You've never seen anybody drowned or die from water. And it just is really doesn't make any sense. It's not really relevant as to why you would have this fear. So that may be a big reason why it would be powerful and positive for you to go through a healing process with a hypnotherapist to do past life regression, so that you can see, well, maybe you in a past life did have some serious reasons why you were afraid of that water. So that's just kind of like a side note for anybody that is curious about that. So it is possible, but it's important for us to not remember some of those things as we come in, because we need to understand this lifetime. Okay, so that's all the things that we kind of already know about reincarnation. Nothing exciting there. However, I've got some crazy exciting stuff that you guys are going to freaking love, because my mind is like with all of this. Okay, so let's get on to the good stuff. All right, so I have some tiny little details to add to what I just said, and then I have some bombshells. So one tiny little detail. Now, some of the family members in your soul family are very, very, very old souls, and others haven't reincarnated as much. So old souls can have reincarnated lifetime experiences at the numbers and ranges around 100 or so. They could have been here 400 times and done this so many times. So for them, they're not necessarily reincarnating because they have lessons to learn. They're reincarnating because they know that they can really help you by entering in and providing some of that old soul teacher kind of guide for you in an actual physical form, which is kind of cool, right? So I didn't really ever think about it like that. And I'm sure a lot of us light workers are that person for a lot of our family members. And it's obvious to us sometimes. And we've even probably said, or we've met people where you look at them and you're like, oh, they haven't been here much. Like they haven't mastered their human or emotion. And you can tell like they're new around here. And others of us, especially in children, it's really easy to spot where they just spout off this immense amount of wisdom and knowledge. And you're like, there's no friggin' way a 5-year-old would understand something like that to that depth. They must be an old soul, right? So it's kind of obvious for us to know. But the cool thing is that I never really thought about it, the fact that an old soul would kind of take one for the team, I guess, and reincarnate to come in with the group, knowing that they actually kind of have gotten they've just had more experience. So they have this whole human thing down. So that's kind of cool. It's also important to note that soul families usually kind of stay intact, and I'll explain that. So let's say somebody passes away and they were a part of your soul family and it just was devastating to you. They don't just like leave. They're a part of your team. They become a part of a support system. They become one of your guides, your guardian angels. They don't go anywhere. You guys are so connected. Yes. And remember, there's no such thing as time, right? And I'm going to touch on that again later here in a minute, but there's no such thing as time, meaning that they can be in heaven and partying it up with all of your ancestors and also be here to support you whenever you need them at the same time. So don't think of it as so linear, but it's kind of cool that they're around you always, right? Which makes sense because when we come to Earth, we want to be comfortable. We want to maybe stick with the same gender for a long period of time, or we want to stick with the same soul family for a good amount of time because it's comfortable and familiar to us. So here's another really interesting thing. I talked about planning before you come into your physical form and human experience, but I didn't talk about what happens when we leave. So when we die and our physical form is no longer, our carbon little suit here is no longer needed, we go through a review process. So the review process is when we no longer are in physical form, we have died technically. It is important for us to go through this review process where we sit and watch like a Netflix version of our entire life, right? So we sit there and we watch this one lifetime we just had, and from beginning to end, watching all the experiences, all the choices we could have made. And there's the kicker. A lot of times, let's say we were in an argument or a fight or whatever the circumstance, we have to feel what that other person felt, because that's a part of learning, right? Just like I use the example often of bullying. When you're little, you pick on other kids and you make fun of them and it's all good and fun and everybody laughs until you end up being the kid that gets picked on one time and you're like, oh, that sucks. That's what bullying feels like and I don't want to do that anymore. So typically, we need to experience both sides of something to really understand the impact that it had, and therefore the other decisions that person made or didn't make, or that we made or didn't make. So the interesting thing is we go through this review process. This process also helps us to detach and separate ourselves from this human experience and go back to our soul light body. And then we party it up in heaven with all of our ancestors. It's fantastic, from what my guides and your past loved ones tell me. So that's important because that's going to come up again here. And so I wanted to explain that. So there's a pre-game plan, there's a whole life experience, and then there's this review process to learn any last little things that you can, okay? And all of that is kind of important. So here's the funny thing, that when I sat down to ask some more questions about this reincarnation stuff, one of my guides, I had said, why, especially now, because it's been so crazy and difficult all over the world in the last couple of years. I'm like, why would anybody want to come back? Right? And I know a lot of us light workers, and we have so much compassion and love, and we hold space and we do all these things. But I bet you, if I were to ask you guys, all the starseeds, the light workers, the healers, anybody, just an average Joe, if I were to say, hey, if you could reincarnate and come right back, would you want to? And I'm guessing that it would be like a hard hell no. It was kind of for me, I would think too. It's like, oh, heck no, I've been there, done that. There's got to be something better, right? Can I be a mermaid in the next life? I don't know. So the funny thing is my guide started with that. And so I thought that was kind of funny, because I was like, well, yeah, I've often thought about that. And I'm like, I don't really know if I'd want to sign up for this again, right? And so that's kind of how they started. So I decided I wanted to ask more questions about this reincarnation stuff. And the really interesting thing was when I really sat down to meditate and started getting into this, Gaia, the earth, which I have meditated with many times before and spoken to her many times before, she was the one that stepped up to have this interaction and conversation with me to explain deeper concepts of reincarnation. And I was really kind of thrown off, because I was like, out of all of my guides, I was not expecting the earth to explain this. But there's very important reasons why, and of course I understood later, but you will too. Okay, so this is some channeled messages from Gaia, and it's a lot, but I really want you to stay tuned because I think it is really crazy and interesting, okay? So this is Gaia speaking, and I just wrote it all down for you guys. So this is her speaking, Gaia, the earth. The earth has shifted along with its inhabitants. This symbiotic relationship is an energetic exchange of wisdom and knowledge. As your needs shift and you grow, so do I, to meet these needs. Okay, so I'm like, okay, so that makes sense. We're tethered to the earth, and as we shift and grow, we have this effect on the earth because we're really tethered to it, literally walk on the ground and eat food from it, and vice versa. So it's kind of like this energetic connection. Okay, got that. Here we go, further on. This is interesting. I hold many memories of wisdom and lessons. These memories are deposited and kept safe with me in a quantum crystalline state. Each soul, human, animal, or plant, will share their wisdom before exiting this planet in their light body. This is part of the download or review process. So I was totally mind blown by this because my guides in previous information, they kind of skipped over that part. And I was like, whoa, back up. I know what the review process is. I just explained it to you guys, right? Where we die and then we watch the Netflix version of our life, right? I was like, so we download that lifetime experience down into the earth somewhere, and not just anywhere, this quantum crystalline library of all these past lives, right? I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then it got me thinking a bunch of other things like, isn't that Akashic Records and blah? So I'll explain that too. Let me keep going. However, this knowledge was also vital to the development of each individual being, as it is also kept in their personal Akashic records with their own higher self. Okay, so what she was, let me kind of break it down. What she's saying is we dump the Netflix version of the life we just had in a crystalline quantum state somewhere within the earth. And our higher self already knows we had the freaking experience. Our higher self watched the whole thing, right? In real time on like a live stream. And so when we go up to heaven, we still have all that knowledge, but we do dump like a copy of that in the earth. And I was like, okay, that was a huge piece of reincarnation and the exiting process that I had never heard before. And so that was really interesting to me. I was like, okay, that's different. And she also kind of mentioned too that this place, this because I was getting really nosy about that whole like quantum crystalline like place. So, like, and in my brain, I saw it like this huge library from like endless aisles, floor to ceiling, and like literally like crystals with like different people's names on them and stuff like that. Although I'm not really sure. I think that was partly like my mind trying to fill in the blanks. But I asked Gaia, well, like, where is this place? And she was like, no, child, like that is not for you to go looking for. Besides, you already have access to it, and I'll explain that in a minute. But she was like, that's not for you to go looking for. I just need you to understand that there is a place, and you leave some of that information here with me, the earth, so that I can digest it and understand it and shift accordingly. So the really interesting thing is she gave me the impression like if we're all sick and dying from a pandemic or something crazy, that she will start to adapt the sun, the moon, the sky, the plants, the food that we eat to counteract and support us. Because remember, as we shift emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically, so does she. That was the very first thing she said. So it was almost like she was giving me this imagery of like, whatever our needs are, she's right there to like support, and vice versa. So it was really kind of cool. All right, let's continue. However, things are different now. Now, a new quantum soul may enter to reincarnate, and they can and will pick up this knowledge and wisdom to hold and carry with them in their human experience. And so I was like, wait a minute, you're saying that as we reincarnate and enter, we stop by that crystalline quantum spot and pick up all the knowledge of all of our past lives? And she was like, yes, exactly. So I'm like, so if I was living this new life, I would remember all of my past lives? And she was, yes, exactly. She said, yes, exactly. And I was like, hold on, that is crazy, right? Now, it's funny, because she reminded me very quickly of something that I had recorded and channeled and recorded in a video not too long ago. So this is her response. The quantum children who enter are the oldest souls, and with this new ability to remember all of their past lives, there is no need for karma or repeating mistakes or life lessons. Their mission is much deeper and much different than that. And so I was like, boom, I remembered in the video, the quantum child video, I remember saying that because they told me that they don't have karma. They come in knowing things, like just knowing. And now it like came full circle, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what they're talking about. The quantum child remembers all of their past lives. They can access their Akashic record like a memory effortlessly, right? And that's why they know how to operate this human machine. That's why they know all the pressure points to keep the body healthy. That's why they know what the body needs. This is how they don't have karma, because they've already had all these life experiences. They're the oldest souls. They've had life experiences not even on this planet as a human being. So I was like, hold on. This is a totally deeper look into what that quantum child looks like, right? And you got to think, they probably have already been here for a bit, so I don't even know if child is the right term. Quantum upgraded human is probably a more clear term. All right, let me keep going. I'm excited if you guys can't tell. So this is when she also continued to remind me, do you remember we told you about quantum children, no more karma? This will change everything for Lightworkers and Starseeds. This is happening because you are all so needed. We know you are tired. We hear you, and we send you more old souls and Lightworkers than ever before. They will hold all of the wisdom from their own past lives, and this energy will shift even more than it has already. And so one of the cool things that they kind of showed me was this imagery, and it was kind of like, I saw myself teach. So I used to teach a lot of like anatomy and stuff like that. So I saw myself teaching anatomy to like 8-year-olds. And so my lesson was very cartoony. You know, my PowerPoint in the background was very cartoony, and it was very age appropriate, very basic, simple answers. And then quickly I saw myself teaching to like high school students. So my lesson was much more in depth. I was using much bigger anatomically correct words and language and anatomically correct images, and explaining more things. And then I saw myself teaching to, people more my age, like college level or, like adults. And I was able to go really, really, really into depth. And so Gaia said, as the energy shifts, so does the teacher, the student, and the depth of the topic. And so I think she showed me those images, like when we were, years and years and years ago, when we didn't have as many awakened people, when we didn't have as many, starseeds and lightworkers, and we couldn't have these conversations so openly. We were trying to stumbling around and figuring things out. We were that, younger elementary school level. And then we all started getting awakening, and we all started shifting and healing and holding space and doing all these amazing things. And we really started to have the ability to understand a deeper level of spirituality. And therefore, the teacher shifted, the earth shifted, the information shifted, the access we have to things shifted, because our understanding did as well. And then, of course, so on and so on. So she was kind of expressing to me like that as you guys have shifted and grown, I have too. This is the reasoning why this is happening, because you've grown to a point where this can happen. So that was really awesome. Not too much more. Starseeds and Lightworkers, you have all worked so hard to shift and raise the vibration, and it shows. It is because of this very accomplishment that these old quantum souls can now enter in such a way. This is hope, dear ones. This is the new earth. It is being birthed, and sadly, not without labor pains. We know you grow impatient, but please do not give up. Continue to hold space, love, and light for all. Continue to heal and work on yourselves and others. We need you now, all of you. So it's kind of interesting. So my mind goes like a mile a minute, like faster than, I come up with like 100 things to respond to this, right? And so my thought is, how amazing. First and foremost, they're congratulating us, how amazing. We've raised the vibration to a level where these now quantum people or children or whatever can start to enter. Like, this is like amazing development, right? And yet my brain also thinks, wow, they keep harping on the fact that they're needed, right? And so I'm like, oh boy. So that also makes me understand that, yes, this is New Earth. Yes, this is the shift. This is all the things that we've been hearing. This is all the things we've been feeling. This is the reason why you're here and watching this video. I get that. But it also kind of is maybe a little bit of that foreshadowing as well, because look where we are, right? Right now in our state and our culture, So my mind went like both ways, like, oh, yay, and oh no. My mind kind of split. Let me continue. We are so proud of you and where you are and how far you have come from 2012 till now. However, we still ask you to be prepared and expect more difficulties, deaths, division, and extremes. So overall, this is really informative and very, very positive. But that was that one little piece where my brain was like, and I find it really interesting that they bring up 2012, because that is a number or a year that we have all heard and everybody has talked about. This is when a lot of our dark nights of the soul or the awakening process at least began for many, many, many of us. And so that's not shocking to me at all. And sadly, I don't think it's very shocking for many of us to also hear that there's for them to warn us and say, you know, be prepared. There's going to be more difficulties. There's going to be more deaths. There's going to be more division, and extremes. And when I saw extremes, I saw like volcanoes and flooding and, like, you know, heavy weather, like tornado stuff, like tsunami stuff, like heavy weather stuff. Again, nothing new. And I don't want to freak anybody out. I love sharing love and light, and I don't want you guys to see, to get caught up in just like this little negative. Literally, it's like 2 sentences out of my whole thing. But I think it's really important that they are being honest and sharing that with us, right? Like, they're giving us this empowering message, but they're also like, hey, here's the real stuff too, right? Here's the last little bit. And this is kind of funny. So they said, we know this sounds bad. And they literally like put that in parentheses in my head. We know this sounds bad, but please see this as proof of your diligence. These old systems and ways are crumbling and making way for the new. We send you bursts of energy through the sun and on the wind. Be well and know that you are so loved. So, super cool and powerful information about reincarnation. There's one other side note I want to make, because if you guys are like me, I'm like, oh my God, that's so awesome, quantum children. I'm like, oh, I'm already here though, so that sucks, because I'd really like to have all that information, right? So my guides corrected me really quickly, and I didn't have time to really think about it. And if I would have thought about it, I probably would have came to the same conclusion. But they were like, don't think that you're being left out. They're like, remember, as they enter, these are more old souls with no karma who have their shit together. And they are like coming in to raise the vibration. And remember, we are all really connected. So as they come in, it raises the vibration. And so my guides quickly said, you will have the same abilities of these quantum children because they are raising vibration. It forces your vibration to raise, which means in the next couple of years, I think that we are going to be mind blown with the amount of access we have to our Akashic records, to our past lives, to our guides, to our angels, to our higher self. It's just going to be like having this memory of past lives, like a dream or memory. And we will be able to hold conversations in our head with other light body beings effortlessly, like an actual verbatim conversation. And so that was really comforting, because I was like, this is awesome. And I'm like, I want to be a part of the cool kids club. Dang it. You know? So if you guys were thinking that, which I'm sure some of you were, you're kind of like, yay. So don't do the part. You guys are all included in all that. We're all included in all that. And that is so fantastic and amazing and so good to hear. And so I know that, there's been some crazy times. I think this next year of 2022 is going to be, has its high, mountains and valleys, its peaks and valleys with it. And I think it's going to really help us to digest and understand a lot more about why we're seeing these things happen, what's crumbling apart. They're telling me, don't forget, the other thing that I didn't mention was that along the lines of people dying, okay? So I'm going to go there for just a second. They reminded me that there's 2 versions, right? There's people that cannot handle this vibration. They're stuck in 3D. And it is so painful and uncomfortable that they are so distant from their higher selves, from the universe, from themselves. They're so disconnected. They feel so lost. They are literally suffering that they are choosing to exit. And we're seeing this mass exodus, right? And it's a lot of those people that are just like, peace out. I gotta go. Like, I don't want to be here anymore, right? And we have to respect that. The other thing is, some of you guys have started to notice that there are people leaving, and you're like, oh my gosh, from 2012 till now, there's people leaving that are some of these really amazing guru type people that we all kind of appreciated and looked to for this guidance, and were like, what the heck, man, now is not the time for people like that to leave, right? So my guides explained to me something really important. They were like, between the window of 2012 and now, a lot of light workers did, not a lot, but like they were older, a lot of light workers bounced out, knowing darn well that they could flip around, reincarnate, enter back in as a quantum child, and be 10 times more effective in helping to raise the vibration and helping other people heal and helping them awaken, in creating this new earth energy and vibration. They would right away be in that 5D, fifth dimensional kind of state of mind. And so I was like, I get it. I totally get it. Like, they saw it as this powerful opportunity. And the hilarious thing was, at the end of this, my guides went back to the very first question, and they said, now that you know all of this, if you had an opportunity to reincarnate and come back, would you come back? And I was like, well, heck yeah, it changes everything. Are you kidding me? I feel like I've done so much work in just this lifetime alone. And in all the other previous lifetimes, with all my skills and my gifts and my knowledge and my wisdom, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, you would be so unstoppable in such a beautiful and positive way. You wouldn't have to repeat all the crappy stuff, and you would just know who you are. You would have this overwhelming sense of exactly what you need, what direction you're going in. It would just be fantastic. And so I'm like, yeah, that changes everything. And so I thought it was really funny that they started with that question, and I was kind of like, that's weird. I'm asking about reincarnation. I guess it's a relevant question, but I didn't really get it. And then I understood why Gaia was the one answering some of these questions, because she's like, oh no, I'm a big part of this reincarnation thing, especially now. Here's why, right? So I hope this information blows your guys' minds away just like it did mine. And as always, my intention is to give you guys excitement and encouragement and support and positivity. And as always, love and light, my friends.